Anthony Harris insurance more than Marcus Epps because the style he plays and this team. The one thing, if you look at the secondary, this team needs a deterrent in the middle of the field. Somebody that receivers are going to have to worry about going. Well, a tight end especially. Oh, that guy's lingering around. I don't want to get hit and start thinking second thoughts. So, if he brings that element as well as some cover stuff and some help in the run stop, I think it's fine for what it is. If you're going to have to rely on him to be your main guy as a strong safety, then that's why I start to think, at this point where he's at right now, that's why I have a few questions about that.
Appreciate you being part of a Tuesday edition, a summer solstice edition of Birds 365. You got McDonald and McMullen hanging with you. We got Chris Franklin joining with us. Chris Franklin, summer solstice, longest day of the year. After you finish up with us today, you're going to have like 12 more hours of light out before the sun goes down. What are you going to do to celebrate the summer solstice?
Well, this is my first day back from vacation, so I'm going to have to be. I'm sick half of it, so that's fun. But afterwards, I'm going to go out there and I'll probably get I have these little beach chairs in the back of my car, and so I'll probably sit in the middle of an office complex. The weird guy with a laptop looking around that way. So that's probably what I'm doing.
Well, hopefully you're not by the wildfire in Mullica Hill. That thing looks nasty.
Thankfully, no. We're far enough. We're far away from that. But knowing that area, I used to actually another time ago, used to cover when the news side would cover that stuff and Medford and all that stuff, and to see all it. Thankfully, so far away from some of that stuff. But that thing is it's the fire that won't end. It's crazy how it's going.
I thought maybe we'd see Franklin News. I thought we'd maybe see the comeback.
Sometimes it might have to break out. Some not all here. No, but it's every other year in Mullica Hill since 2019. There was a weak tornado. 2020
tornado.
2021 you had that big 3 that went past this office, and then now it's an off year. So fires or whatever. Hurricanes, I'm available for this year.
Didn't that tornado? I think it really damaged Louis Riddick's house, which was damaged a lot of people's houses. But obviously, a lot of Eagles live down that way. It's a nice area.
Yeah, it is nice. It's nice and quiet. So when all of a sudden you hear like a train sound and you start looking outside, it kind of sounds like, wait, what's that? Oh, wait, this is not a movie or nothing like that coming back. I think it was just.
I thought maybe the fire was caused by the Philadelphia Eagles because they were on fire with their Jaquiski Tartt.
Ronnie Lott, baby, Ronnie Lott. Because you were on vacation, Chris. So I don't know if you knew, but the Eagles signed the reincarnation of Ronnie Lott, evidently.
Is Tartt going to have all his fingers and nothing's going to be messed up with this one? Because if he does, I think he could be helpful when it comes there. But I thought,
he's even better now that you bring that up. He's got all his fingers, so in theory, he's better.
He should be better than Ronnie Lott. We kid because we care and because we believe it. We've gotten some response because both John and I have been lukewarm about the Jaquiski Tartt signing. Do you even think he's a lock to start here? Do you think it's going to be a competition between the guys already on the roster at the safety position? What was your first reaction when you heard Eagles got a veteran like Jaquiski Tartt to sign and join the safety room?
When I first heard Tartt, I automatically went to the one of 4 years ago, but then I started thinking, all right, let me look back and look at the film a little bit. I think the signing is going to wind up looking like a Will Parks-esque type deal when it's all said and done. And that's not putting anything.
I've already forgotten about Will Parks. And that was only a couple years ago.
Oh, Chris, now I feel bad because I brought up Corey Graham. I brought up Andrew Sendejo. I brought up Jonathan Cyprian. I brought up Andrew Adams, and I forgot about Will Parks. I want to punch myself.
Shame on me.
Yeah. It's the thing is, it's not knocking you because I liked Will Parks back when he was with the Broncos. I think he's more of a big nickel guy when you bring him in here. I think it's more Anthony Harris insurance more than Marcus Epps because the style he plays and this team. The one thing, if you look at the secondary, this team needs a deterrent in the middle of the field. Somebody that receivers are going to have to worry about going. Well, a tight end especially. Oh, that guy's lingering around. I don't want to get hit and start thinking second thoughts. So if he brings that element as well as some cover stuff and some help in the run stop, I think it's fine for what it is. If you're going to have to rely on him to be your main guy as a strong safety, then that's why I started to think, at this point where he's at right now, that's why I have a few questions about that.
Do you think, contract-wise, I'm thinking veteran minimum. Do you think Tartt gets any more than that? Is this – because that tells you a lot. I mean, look, we had some people say this is one of the best covered safeties in the NFL. Bottom line is, if you're one of the best covered safeties in the NFL, you're not on the market on June 17th, Chris. I mean, that's just the way it works. If it's 1 year veteran minimum, he could be starting September 11th in Detroit. He could be Will Parks and off the team, or Jonathan Cyprian or Andrew Adams and off the team. Which would you lean towards starting, off the team, if you're a betting man?
I'm a betting man. Well, now, after saying all that, I probably leave starting for that because I think he's going to find.
Well, I said the same thing. I'm 50-50 basically, but I think he's got a good chance to start. But again, I'd be at probably 25% or so that he might not even be on the team. That's the weird dichotomy, because he's not going to be a fourth safety, right? If Kayvon Wallace finally, if the light turns on there, then you want a special teams guy. So you want Andre Sacheret or Jared Maiden. Jaquiski Tartt's not going to play special teams. So that's the weird disconnect, the weird dichotomy you have. He might be starting. He might be off the team by September 11th.
It is really crazy. Like, I can see it being like a 1.5 million with like an escalator. Like, if you start this many games and this many tackles, it goes up to maybe 4 or 5, maybe. But getting back to your thing, I just think I look at everything else they have and look at that secondary, and you look at what they could potentially have in the safety position. Kayvon Wallace, I like the guy personally. I like what he could potentially bring. Like, Kayvon Wallace is what Tartt is. Tartt is what Kayvon Wallace should be at this point right now. He should be a guy that sees his field regularly. That guy, that physical presence as well too, because he's a better physical safety, I think, as a cover guy. But we haven't seen that leap yet, and I think it's. When you look at this, I think it's more if Wallace doesn't do well, given that all the other investments that this team has made on the defensive side and offensive side, and the expectations are basically putting themselves at now, I think this is one of those things where they have to say, like, you know what, we're going to go for it this year and see what we can do, especially in a weaker NFC, as opposed to, and so this could be a time where you maybe see Kayvon Wallace go, maybe they let him go in the future. You know, it's tough to see that, but. For me, I'm a little concerned about Kayvon Wallace and where he's at currently right now in his projection.
Chris, like you mentioned, had a little downtime. Good for you. So don't think we've had you on since the Eagles finished up all their offseason work, because we blinked and we missed most of it. And I've been a little bit more hard on the Eagles than some other people, because they've chosen this less is more way of handling the offseason. And they didn't have any major injuries, so they won that battle. But are they actually ready for a training camp to prep and be in there? You got to give the Eagles at least this much. At least they didn't get fined. At least they didn't lose any potential practices for next year, which the Giants did, which the Commanders did, the Houston Texans did too. But people don't care all that much about them here in town. I don't know if what the Eagles did this offseason was right, wrong, or indifferent, but other teams being fined for 2 physical practices, for running drills you're not supposed to run. Who are the NFL police, Chris? Who's turning these teams in so that they're incurring these fines from the league? The Eagles didn't have to sweat it because they didn't do near enough, but 2 teams within their division did get penalized for going a little hard during preseason, during offseason. Who's ratting people out here, frankly?
I have my sources up now. Okay, I don't know, but I don't know how these teams think they can get away with it now. You have 90 guys. Somebody's going to tell somebody, oh, well, today we did 7-7. And then also, I wouldn't be surprised the NFL peeks in on a couple of streams going, what's going on in this play? What's going on here? To monitor it. So I put this more on the coaches, because that's why they're getting fined, because you can't get away with stuff like this. You can't. To me, it's more of a preparation thing. If you have a coach that's going rogue, going, you know what, let's go have the Oklahoma drill over there. Nobody's going to see this. And the coach is just like, la 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 la, deserves to get fined. And I just don't understand why it's still continuing to happen. If you saw the first fine, you saw. If I'm Mike McCarthy or if I'm Ron Rivera, and I saw the other person get fined, like, no, guys, maybe we should watch this a little bit. Tell these guys to stop it, or we're going to personally find the player. It's asinine to me, and I don't understand how it continues to happen over and over again. I mean, if the league can go look at a meeting room and see the Denver Broncos and going like, Minnesota, whatever team it was that was sitting around too close because we wanted to be all together.
It was Denver.
Hey, we want to be so close so we can watch the things together, and they can see that from inside a meeting room. What makes you think you're going to be out in the open there when you'll see that?
Yeah, and to answer Jody's question directly, the NFLPA has a representative observing every practice. I don't know if it's live or streamed, as Chris said, but that's how they get caught. So my question with that is, Chris, what kind of coach would you rather have? Would you rather have Mike McCarthy? All right, I'll take $100K hit. Ron Rivera, I'll take that hit. I'm gonna be a little bit more physical than I'm allowed. Or would you rather have the coach that acquiesces and says, all right, we're going to practice 6 times this spring?
I'll take Sirianni. Let's do that. And the reason for that is I'm looking long term. And if you try, I know the whole thing is if you're not cheating, you ain't trying. I understand that. But when I look at somebody who, when it comes to gameplay, like little detail stuff like that shows later on when it comes to games and everything else, who's more prepared. Like that stuff, I think shows more often through organizationally when you start seeing this. And when you look at teams like Cowboys, who have had issues basically being a consistently winning football team, when you look at teams like the Commanders, who also been consistently that one, little stuff like that, not paying attention to detail, even the little smallest things of, okay, can we hit in a mini camp? That's look over that. I think it has long-term implication, and you start to see that on there. So I think that's even though it's practicing, you're worried about hitting a little bit. I don't get it personally. I asked me 20 years ago.
Yeah, I think John Harbaugh's been fined the most. I think he's been fined 15 times. He still can't figure it out, but he doesn't want to figure it out. And he's a borderline Hall of Fame coach, I think, and there's always context, and certain guys are good coaches and do things one way, and certain guys are good coaches and do things another way. I guess my better way to phrase it is, do you think Nick Sirianni has the cachet to do what Ron Rivera and Mike McCarthy did at this stage of his career and say, you know what? Screw you guys. I'm going to do what I want to do as the head coach of this football team.
He is nowhere near it. I mean, that's what Conan's if he did so. I don't still see Nick being that guy to do so. Like, I think he's maybe if he went a little deeper, a couple things, but I think it's more of a things like, hey, you know what? He's, for lack of better words, listening to doctors, I think, a little bit more than what normally should be. I think, in my opinion, there should be at least 8. If you want to find a happy medium, but I think
how about 13? You're allowed 13. How about 13?
See, a lot of stuff you can't really like there's only so much you can do. 707, like in 11, you can't really unless you get full pad 11-11 or a full pass. And I just don't think you could do so much stuff. These guys can do 707 on their own time, away from the coaches, and then even though they may not do it like on the books, but have a stream like, oh, who's my FaceTime is open? What's coach is watching? Oh no, how did that happen? Stuff like that. So. I'm okay with like 8, 9. I don't think they need all 13, right per se.
CF, I want to ask you about a rumor deal, and that's all this is a rumor deal. I don't know how substance to it that media created. I think it started on Bleacher Report, and several Philly sites have picked it up. Kareem Hunt to the Eagles. That the Browns might be ready to move on from Kareem. They've got Nick Chubb. Do they really need the 2 back attack, and they're paying both of the backs more money than the Eagles are paying any of their backs? Could he be a fit here in Philadelphia? Andre Dillard plus has been the proposed trade. I don't see this happening for a very specific reason. Excuse me. Do you think there's legs in it? Do you think something like this could be talked about, even if it hasn't truly been talked about yet? What if you saw this rumor the same as me? What do you think about Kareem Hunt to the Eagles?
Personally, how do I put this? As for the football side, it would make sense in a way, but I don't foresee. But if it was for some other position, maybe, but for a running back, I don't think you need for what this team probably is going to be throwing a little bit more than what you saw, and giving the other pieces that you have, I'm probably passing on it. I know it's been a couple years removed, but I still remember the allegations that came against them and what happened with that. And for me personally, I don't think the team should bring that in there, especially with some of that stuff. So I'd pass on that from that aspect of it. But overall, I think I wouldn't be surprised if they look to trade. I think from the Dillard aspect of it, more towards the end of the right before the cuts and everything. If they were trying to do a player for player trade to get somebody in here, say, I know they just got Tartt, but like say another safety. Say if you wanted to get somebody else, but I just don't think right now for a running back, I'd stay clear from Kareem Hunt personally.
Yeah, I didn't see that one, Jody.
You didn't?
I Kareem Hunt.
I've seen it in like 3 different places. I think it started on Bleacher Report, and then a couple of Philly sites picked up.
I would say this. I think he's on the final year of his deal.
Yeah.
So from that standpoint, all right, he's probably better on, as Chris said, from a pure football standpoint, he's probably better than any back the Eagles have. But the Eagles don't value the position number one.
Right.
Also, the Browns have a first-round pick in 2020 at left tackle on one of the best offensive lines in the NFL. Why are they trying for Andre Dillard? I'm a big Andre Dillard guy. I think he's a starting left tackle in this league, bottom half. The Browns, as I said, they're in the conversation with the Eagles for the best offensive line in football, especially if they can get J.C. Tretter back. But they don't have an issue at left tackle, so it doesn't make sense from that standpoint. I don't know where this stuff starts, man.
And I'll tell you,
dead period.
John, you just made a great argument. I'll tell you the biggest argument why it can't happen. The Eagles right now are 30th in the league in cap space, 30th out of 32 teams. As you pointed out, John, they don't value running back like a lot of other teams in the National Football League. And he's scheduled to make $6 million this year. That would absolutely cut into what the Eagles have left underneath the cap. They're not going to use the cap space that they have on a running back. They just don't believe in it. It's not happening. It doesn't even make. Dillard makes a pretty good chunk of change. So you're only talking about the difference between Dillard's salary and Hunt's salary, but that's significant into itself. They're not going to do that for a running back. If the Browns were willing to give them Kareem Hunt, I don't think they do a deal like that.
Yeah, and Chris is right. It's the dead period. So I'm going to shift towards a deal that almost did happen, and that's Trey Wayne's, who was on a radio show yesterday. And I think a lot of people looked at when free agency started and said, oh, Trey Wayne's, Jonathan Gannon had a history with him. Anthony Harris had a history with him. That makes sense for the Eagles. Turns out it did, because the Eagles tried to sign him, and he's contemplating retirement, and he doesn't think he wants to play anymore. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, because if the Eagles signed Trey Wayne's, he had the big reputation. I think he was the 11th overall pick at one, when he came into the league. Never lived up to that billing, but he got a big deal from Cincinnati a couple of years ago. So he's a big name. Had the history and said, yeah, I really thought about reuniting with JG and Anthony Harris. Eagles got a better corner by waiting and got James Bradbury. Better to be lucky than good, Chris Franklin, in this instance?
Yeah, because if you get a guy who's questioning his belief in what the state of the thing, you don't know how much he's mailing in. I mean, you're looking at the playbook going, he might, who knows, maybe he felt very invigorated. Hey, Jonathan, I haven't seen you in a while. Then that goes for about a week, and you see like that's going on that one. But I think a lot of this stuff is a luck. I mean, when you look at, like, you could put the best roster together in July, and then we see it so many times. Put the best roster together, everything's right. The next thing you know, oh no, somebody has an injury, and knee goes out, and you're scrambling. So you need luck. I mean, the 2017 season was, to me, still look about luck as well too. So I think it's better to be lucky good sometimes.
All right, we're getting that much closer to training camp. Oh, can't get there fast enough. Still 5 weeks away. Other than the rumored deals we're going to toss around there, which we readily admit are just that. I saw one yesterday. John didn't see the Kareem Hunt potential acquisition out there. Did either you guys see the Seattle Reporter is saying, the Seahawks may just jump into the Gardner Minshew mix? That despite the fact that Pete Carroll came out last week and said, no, we're good with Drew Lock and Geno Smith. We're all right at the quarterback position. I wish I'd seen that on video, because I don't think he could have done it with a straight face. But apparently he did. Gardner Minshew available now? Hadn't that ship sailed? That if they were going to trade him, they were going to do so early in the offseason so they go get a different backup quarterback. I don't know, like a Nick Foles. Is there any chance that the Eagles revisit, if there is a really top-heavy offer out there, that they would trade Gardner Minshew?
I think if it's a second or a third, maybe. I think that's when you seriously got to think about it, because I think the ship passed. I think if you're going to get rid of him, I thought before the draft would have been the best route to do so, because there's still some quarterbacks out there. But now you can't do so, because if you're doing so, you're leaving yourself right now with the Minshew's going, Reed Sinnett and Carson Strong, and I don't want to. Yeah. I know everybody's hyped up about Carson Strong. I mean, he's nice and everything else, but I don't see him as a QB2 right now. He's still got some. You saw the arm strength, and you saw them in the mobility in practice during the minicamp practices, minicamp stuff, OTAs and stuff. But I look at him; he still has to digest the system. First of all, he still has to get used to the NFL game speed. Maybe I think next year is the thing where you start to contemplate if he's good enough. You're moving him to QB2, but right now he's no first. So I think, unless they know unless they got a proven backup quarterback in mind, that, and looking at the list, I'm thinking of the list like before it's not a great name right now. So
no, I think the Eagles love it if they could get something valuable. But then who's your backup quarterback? I mean, you can't go into a season with Reed Sinnett or Carson Strong as your backup quarterback. Especially for this team, we talk about value. They value that position, the backup quarterback position. They've shown it pretty consistently. That, to me, is the conversation. I hate to bring up this name, but here we are. There was that little ripple that said, hey, the Eagles are interested in bringing Nick Foles back. Maybe if you could spin off Gardner Minshew, get something valuable, and bring Nick Foles back, but he's not available now. Right. So you need somebody to be the backup quarterback. And all I can say about Carson Strong is he's better than Jamie Newman. People are excited about Jamie Newman. He didn't last rookie camp. He came in for rookie camp and got cut. So Carson beat him. Carson Strong, not the other Carson, is better than Jamie Newman, but I don't want him to be my backup quarterback. I can tell you that.
Yeah, and then also the full stuff, even with the full stuff that was lingering around, I don't know if I wanted to bring him back to Philly, not just because I think that was just the first game. If Jalen Hurts threw for like 50 yards to get destroyed that first game, why wasn't Nick in there? That would be a circus in itself. I mean, don't get me wrong, it'd be good right about that stuff, and everybody else from either side would be nice, but yeah, just for teams, that just would have been just craziness overall. It would have been craziness.
Yeah. CF, I asked you about the other teams getting fined for having practices too hard. Eagles not going near as hard as some other teams. We got the Jaquiski Tartt signing. In some people's eyes, I think that locks up a Super Bowl appearance for the Eagles. What else can we expect here in the next 4 weeks? I think Howie's got his roster pretty darn well set, other than hoping nobody gets hurt playing volleyball somewhere for the next month, getting into their own conditioning for the season. Is there anything we can at least keep an eye on, Chris, that could have our attention peaked here in Philadelphia with the Birds?
This is going to be the only other thing I can possibly see, and it'll be the most boring move ever. And it's a punter. Nobody wants to see a punter on there. Maybe you bring a camp leg in there, because if Aaron Sipos if he continues to look like, hey, can't boom the consistency, especially after the end of last year, just to see whatever veteran punters out there, see what they have left. But even then, you still have to watch out for the field goal mechanics. You don't want to mess up Jake Elliott in that aspect. But otherwise, there's not much they can really do. Unless Jordan Howard comes back and goes, hey, guys, I'm back for my annual right before training camp. I'm here joining you guys, something like that. Besides that, it's going to be a weird. I think it's going to be an eerily quiet, dead period until we get to training camp. I just got that weird feeling about it. And we're here now.
Everybody hopes for, coaches hope for this dead period. The last thing they want is that phone call with somebody getting in trouble or something like that. So
could you imagine Dom calling Howie Rosenface or Nixon and Dom calling like, "Oh, Dom, what's going on?"
Dom just got promoted. Dom, no trouble, Dom. Closed circuit to him. He's at C Franklin News. Read him at NJ.com with our buddy Les Bowen as well. Chris Franklin, always appreciate when you come on. I'll leave you with this. Speed, Devon Allen, breaking records, still doing track all over the place in Europe. He's going to show up at some point, we're told. Had COVID, missed some of the offseason stuff. Obviously, didn't affect him because he's out there still breaking records. We were kind of told he was giving up track, but he's not giving up track. He's just going to come to the Eagles, make the team, win the Super Bowl, and then go back to track. Is that how it's going to work out for Devon Allen?
He'll be one of those guys where I think everybody's going to be oohing and eyeing when they do like the quick the sprints and everybody's seeing the hand on the ground going that one too. I'm just going, wow. And I hope this doesn't happen, because you know what's going to happen. The moment there's a kickoff return or whatever, and they're practicing, and he hurls over one guy trying to dive or something like that. It's like, oh my goodness, you got the next thing. That Darren Sproles part 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No.
Well, I lied. I got one more for you. Over under on Devon Allen first week of training camp stories. I put the number at 35.
Ooh.
And you two will be guilty of.
Yeah, I'll be.
2 of those 35. McMullen check, Franklin check. Can we come up with 33 more guys?
You got to do it. The problem is you got to find an angle.
And anybody is going to say, I'm going to go under 24 and a half, 24 and a half. And the half's going to be some computer generated thing that pops up that way.
We don't have 35, but there's going to be a lot.
It's the first. That's why I'm shocked he didn't come into minicamp. If he came into minicamp, it would have been all done, but now it's just we'll see him training camp the first time. Yeah. Oh my goodness! So
All right. At the risk of annoying more of Eagles Nation, here's my prediction for Mr. Allen. He comes into camp, he opens some eyes, the Eagles put him through to the practice squad, and somebody else claims him, and he goes and plays somewhere else, and then everyone is screaming and whining and moaning and bitching because they didn't put him on the roster. Mark my words. That's exactly the way this is going to happen. The Eagles were the first one to sign him. They're going to bring him in. He's going to have one big run back in a preseason game, but they're still not going to have room for him on the regular roster, and somebody's going to come in and pick him up.
It's going to be Noah Tagai all over again. How could they lose Noah? Now they have him back as the 6th-string tight end. So.
And the Eagles might get him back again. You're right. It might go the exact same way, John. But he will be picked off the Eagles practice squad. Yeah. Somebody is going to take him. Mark my words. Chris Franklin, good to have you back to work. Good to have you back with us here on Birds 365. We'll get back with you in a couple of weeks, buddy.
Hey, thank you guys so much for having me. I appreciate it. It's always fun.
Chris Franklin.